What's going on, guys? It's your man Donovan Sharp, and welcome to this last and final live stream of 2023. This is my new. There we go. Hey, look at that. Yeah, there's technology for you. Thank you guys all very, very much for joining us today. I, of course, am joined by my partners in crime, Miami J and Jay Blaze. How we doing today? How we doing this morning, guys? How was your
Doing
Christmas
well.
celebrations and all that good stuff?
It was great.
Doing well.
Didn't do a lot, but my daughter's here, so that's always fun.
Oh, good. What about you, Blaze?
Everything went well. Had to have Christmas a little later because my brother had his family over, but
Cool.
went pretty well.
Good stuff. Yeah, my Christmas was relaxing. It was restful. Devin hooked me up with a really, really, really cool Atlantic City trip. She got us a suite. We gambled. It was a lot of fun. I'm not really too much of a gambler, but oh, wait a minute. I'm not really too much of a gambler, but I like to watch Devin gamble and win. So it was a lot of fun. All right, guys. Listen, man, let's go ahead and get right to it, man. The story of the day is the Detroit Lions against the Dallas Cowboys last night. For my money, that was the game of the year. All kinds of playoff implications. The backdrop of Jimmy and Jerry finally bearing the hatchet, squashing the beef after all these years. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Aiden O'Connell doing the stanky leg after a 3-sack performance. Dak Prescott's supposedly good performance, the 92-yard touchdown pass. CeeDee Lamb, he gashed the Lions, and then of course the botched call at the end. Miami J, let me go ahead and get your initial thoughts on last night's game, the call. Where are you at on this?
So to me, the Lions got absolutely robbed. That was a bullshit call. But before that, let me say Mike McCarthy showed how bad of a play caller he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Cowboys have zero clock management skills, I guess. The fact that he passed the ball 3 times there with like a minute and a half left, that just shows like these guys don't have it. They better be at home for the playoffs because they're not going to do anything on the road. As far as the call to go for 2, I love Dan Campbell going for it for the win, I love this press conference. I will say, while the penalty was complete crap, I'm not sure I would have gone for it after the penalty. I think at that point they should have just kicked the field goal and gone for the overtime. But yeah, the call was absolute crap, and that's what the game came down to.
Okay, very good. Jay Blaze, what are your initial thoughts?
I liked Dan Campbell going for it, and he was very aggressive because, dude, he was away. The Cowboys had won 13 straight at home. So I don't hate you going for the win, but dude, Mike McCarthy is the worst clock management person in the end of the games. And I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, how do you not fix this? Like, this has happened multiple times, and all you had to do was run the ball a few times at the end of the game, and this never happens. And dude, and you see it on the play-by-play, like the guy talked to the official right before the game.
Yes.
He did that. And I'm just like, this makes no sense unless they wanted the Cowboys to win.
That seems to be. Let's say again, Miami J.
It was completely on the ref. It's the ref's job that if 3 players are coming up to you, you got to see what each of their concerns are. You don't look at one and ignore the other 2.
Yeah, it was very, very clear. Now, in my mind, like I said before, that was the game of the year. That's my first observation. My second observation, I was telling you guys off the air, if that play had stood, the 2-point conversion, that right there, that would have made Dan Campbell coach of the year, without a doubt. As of right now, it is still Kevin Stefanski, because and if you guys disagree, please let me know. It's still Kevin Stefanski, and it probably will be, because the Cleveland Browns are 11-5 on their 4th quarterback, and Joe Flacco is now an NFL Comeback Player of the Year odds. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But in my mind, that play would have solidified him as the NFL Coach of the Year. It didn't come to pass. I think it's still Kevin Stefanski. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But it was an unbelievable game, an unbelievable ending, of course, with Jerry Jones and Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson finally squashing the beef. Go ahead.
I will say I'm not. I mean, the call was fantastic. I'm not sure that would have pushed him above Stefanski for Coach of the Year.
Okay.
I think Stefanski. I think what the Browns have done the last 5 weeks is nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah.
Honestly. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Go ahead, Blaze.
So right now you have a multi-billion-dollar league, and how do you still have refs on part-time? How?
Yeah.
Like you should have full-time and being them training for these situations.
Right.
And these refs, how you don't say, "Oh, this guy's come up to me. Hey, this guy's applying for this like a receiver," and
Yes.
I still think Stefanski, dude, they lost their best running back.
Yep.
And their quarterback. And dude, Joe Flacco came off the couch. I'm just like, how do you not give it to Stefanski? So I still think Stefanski is head and tails above every other coach.
You know
Okay,
what?
very good.
It's the inconsistency. You have a league here where something like this, like happened last night with number 1 seed, Coach of the Year, game on the line implications, and it comes down to the ref not seeing somebody. You juxtapose that with the fact, like let's say a hypothetical here. Let's say the Cardinals are playing the Panthers next week. I don't even know who they're playing. Let's say that, and the Cardinals are blowing out the Panthers, and it's a second down, and you're trying to see if the guy tiptoed at the line for the catch.
Right.
They're going to stop the game and look at every single millimeter and every blade of grass to make sure they get the call right. But then we can't get this right. I mean, it's either one or the other. Either do replay for everything or do replay for nothing. But
you know what these refs do, which I don't understand? You have a goal line situation where a guy is very close to the touchdown. Just give him the touchdown, and then you can review it. Like, I don't understand why you say they didn't get in, even though they did get in. Call it a touchdown, and if you have to reverse it, you have the camera there, and you can reverse it and get the right call right.
That's actually what NFL referees appear to be doing. If a player fumbles the football, or if there's a change of possession with a fumble or an interception, even if it looks a little broken up or doesn't exactly look, the referees will allow the play to continue until somebody gets tackled or they score, and then they'll go look at the replay. And not only that, this was within 2 minutes, and referees typically go in and they review everything because, of course, coaches' challenges are invalid inside of the 2-minute warning. And so not only did they get this wrong, but they failed to review the tape that would have clearly shown that Taylor Decker had clearly reported as eligible to the referee. So I recorded this with my phone, this particular clip. This of course is fair use. This is fair use. This is about a 30-second snippet of the Dan Campbell press conference right after the game. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think sorry, guys. Hang on. All right, there we go. Wait a minute. Can you guys hear that? No, you can't hear that. I wonder why. Sorry, guys. We do it live. Give me a second here. Yeah, that should be it. And then might be one of these situations. Let's try this. Can you guys hear that?
It's very low.
He is not. Oh, he was not trying to be up there.
Yes. Two people can't report. I don't want to talk about it. Right?
So you can see Dan Campbell was clearly agitated. This is Rex Ryan on ESPN's NFL Sunday Countdown. Rex Ryan, and it appears that the players and coaches are definitely pro players and coach. Listen to what Rex Ryan says. He gets fired up here. Fair use.
Stop. The players did everything right. So quit blaming, quit covering somebody's butt.
Yeah,
and tell it the way it is. Be a man and take responsibility. It's BS. And this thing right here, and it's just a game. Yeah, it's a game, that may very well cost them the second seed, certainly, and possibly the first seed. And
So Rex Ryan was talking about the implications, and the final clip I have about this. This is from Adam Schefter talking about other missed calls this season from Brad Allen's crew, which happened to be the crew that was on the field for last night's game. Listen very closely. Again, this is fair use.
Reporting, and that's been a continuation of a string of high-profile misses from the Brad Allen crew this year. You remember earlier in the year, there was the pass interference with Marquez Valdez-Scantling that was not called. The same.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
There we go.
Goes over his shoulder. There was a pass
And I had forgotten about that Green Bay call until Adam Schefter had told us about it.
interference call in Atlanta with the Saints. That was not called when clearly it was pass interference that had influenced that game. This is a roughing the passer penalty where Zadarius Smith was fined, but it was not called. And there's one thread that ties together all those calls. It is the same Brad Allen crew, time and time again. Now you will.
So it is the same Brad Allen crew time and time again. Miami J, what are your thoughts there?
Look, this applies to all the sports. When the referee is the topic of discussion after the game, you know there's something wrong. And if this guy and this crew are getting that many calls right, they need to go to retraining. They need to be fired. These people can't be coaching a pro game. They just can't.
Jay Blaze, what are you thinking?
I remember when you had the referee strike where you had all the really bad calls, and Jerry Jones, I believe, said, I love it because it creates a weird intrigue about the game where you don't know what's going to happen later. But dude, these referees, this is why you need full-time referees. You need full training, and you need these people to go to a few games and really get their skills sharp, because dude, this hurts the product. And dude, you have NFL rigged being brought up a lot more now, because I still think the NFL goes into their microphone and says, hey, we kind of want, if the Chiefs are playing, we kind of want the Chiefs to win and get in the playoffs. Can you make that happen? Because they're a big draw.
Okay.
Let me say this. Football's going to be part of the Olympics for the first time next summer. It is going to be embarrassing because all these referees are going to come from America.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's going to be an embarrassment if there are many blown calls at the Olympics. We're going to be embarrassed like crazy, and the NFL needs to look into this.
Not only that, fans around the world appear to be I remember watching the Kansas City and Dolphins game in Germany, and the German fans were very, very up on the rules. They booed when they were supposed to. They cheered when they were supposed to.
Yeah.
They had to bring out the sticks to measure to see if it was a first down or not, and the crowd reacted. So an international audience is going to be able to clearly see the flaws and the mistakes of the referee. What you got, Blaze?
So I think we're seeing more and more in this where the NFL is pushing for, they don't want the best game on the field. They want money. You saw this with the Bengals where they had to leave the Bills game, or the Bills that game, the Bengals Bill game got taken away, and then the NFL wanted a game, the AFC Championship, to be a neutral field. They wanted that to be precedent where they could bid off the NFC and AFC championship games like they do with the Super Bowl. So they're pushing for where they can get the most profit, where they don't want the best game or product on the field. And you're seeing more and more of this. They're sacrificing the fans, where you just had a week ago where they took a game from Sunday and put it on Monday night, where the fans that had tickets to that Sunday game and say they were leaving that Monday, they're going, what, you're screwing us. How are we supposed to go to this game if we have airline tickets to leave on a Monday?
You want to know why? And I agree with you. A lot of people say, well, why don't they just flex the NFL game? It's not easy to flex an NFL football game.
Exactly.
You've got the fans, you've got the hotels that have been booked, You've got contracts with networks. So now you got to negotiate with like these companies pay billions of dollars for these games. And if you're going to take one game from CBS and give it to ESPN for Monday night, it's great for the fans, but for the players and the coaches, it's great for the TV product, but for the actual the fans that actually come to the game, it screws them over. And that just tells us one thing. The NFL clearly and rightfully prioritizes their television audience over their live audience. And I agree with the economic reasons, but by the same token, it's kind of the spirit of the game. Just like you were saying, Blaze, people invest. They make travel plans. They go cross country. They travel with their family. Some people are even going to see their teams play for the very first time, and it gets flexed to earlier or later or another day. It's not as cut and dried as you might think.
Like you had the Amazon who has Thursday Night Football, and they wanted to be able to flex good games onto Amazon, and you had the NFL. I think all but 4 owners agreed to it. I was like, how do you take your fans that paid hard-earned money, who bought tickets and hotel stays and flights? How do you say to those fans, no, we're going to flex this game that week to Thursday. We're going to screw you over. And how do you accept that? And then you had the Peacock thing where they were getting a bunch of hate because the fans are going, dude, there was a game last night. Like, they did a Peacock, and I was like, how do you take these fans that you have Peacock is on NBC, and they wanted Peacock did that so people would pay for Peacock?
Peacock,
I'm just like,
absolutely. And
it's a complete sham. Yeah, it's a complete sham.
I'm never one to defend the networks, but think about how much work I'm not talking about the network executives. I'm talking about the crews, the announcers, the cameramen, the production coordinators. How much work they put. These people flying on a Monday for a Sunday game, and they take all week to prepare. You flex a game in the middle of the week, they just lost a ton of money and a ton of work.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'd be frustrated as hell.
So let's talk about this element. And this is something that Blaze was alluding to, that Devin just straight up says. She says Jerry has everyone in his pocket. The Level Up man says, I agree with Jay Blaze, at least partially. The NFL does have a vested interest in who wins games, and they absolutely influence games. So let's just ask the question. Miami J, does the NFL have let me ask you this first. Do you think NFL games are getting just flat out fixed? Do you think that they need to do something? Like, what are your thoughts on Jerry has everyone in his pocket? Because all 3 of us were texting last night, and I remember I was the first one that said, hey, I wonder how much Jerry paid for that one. And you think about the circumstances. Jerry and Jimmy finally squashed the beef. Troy Aikman, Michael, the triplets are there. Darren Woodson, DeMarcus Ware, all of the Roger Staubach's there, the Ring of Honor. Roger Goodell was probably there. Dude, you had Michael Strahan was there. Terry Bradshaw. You had players from other teams on the field congratulating Jimmy Johnson for being inducted into the Cowboys Ring of Honor, which, by the way, almost feels like a secondary Hall of Fame with just the amount of people that were there. It just wouldn't seem right if the Lions were to win that game. And it just appeared that the referees did whatever they could to make sure that the Cowboys could win. And it was blatant in this particular instance. Well, so Miami Dade, does the NFL have a problem with people thinking games are fixed?
I don't think they care. I don't think the big NFL cares. Now, I think match fixing's a little bit of a strong term.
Sure.
Maybe it is in my mind, because I remember back in the 90s how Italian soccer used to literally fix the games. Like, the players would stop playing. That was for the Mafia used to bet on games, and the Mafia controlled everything, and they fixed the matches. That's match fixing to me.
Right.
I do think the NFL probably speaks to the refs and says, hey, we'd like this outcome, but there's only so much that can be done, right? That's not on the field.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think maybe they push it a certain way. To say they fix them, I think that's a little strong.
Jay Blaze, what are your thoughts?
I still think that, like, we all know the NFL wants the Chiefs in the playoffs and with a long, like, at least the AFC Championship, because you have the Taylor Swift thing, you have all these factors, and if you don't think they're getting the rest of, like, if you can, like, just slightly, maybe you make like a phantom call or something here or there that gets that the Chiefs to go ahead because
Yeah.
the NFL. This is why I was a huge fan of the Bengals last year. The Bengals screwed the NFL out of the neutral site game, and they
Yeah.
were going to do that. If you don't think they were going to try and do that, sell off the rights to the NFC games and the AFC games, you're crazy. Like they wanted that so bad.
Yeah, that's a
No.
The neutral site.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely wanted that. Yeah, that was the whole DeMar Hamlin thing. Labib says, I'm going to say this, Donovan. I play semi-pro basketball. If the refs are bad, I lose. I know I made a mistake somewhere. Somewhere I had to fuck up because we get so many shots that you can afford to have. He continues, says, shitty refs, but you can't have this in football where every possession matters. You cannot have shitty refs in football. And I think what Jay Blaze was referring to back with the referee strike was the whole Hail Mary between, I think was the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos. If I remember correctly, Russell Wilson throws a Hail Mary. I don't remember who exactly came down with it, but you see two referees there. One referee put his hands up as if to signal a touchdown. The other one put his hands out to signal an incompletion. And that was all we needed to see to let everyone know, okay, it's time to get the real referees back on the field.
Yeah,
Mr.
Oh, go ahead.
So Mr. Kennedy says, you guys aren't football guys, clearly. This late in the season, you never shoot for OT, especially during an away game. More opportunities for your players to get season-ending injuries. You know,
with that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I guess Mr. Kennedy is, I guess he's an NFL head coach somewhere. Maybe he's texting in anonymously. It was pretty clear to everyone on the broadcast that Dan Campbell was going to go for two. And here's the thing, Mr. Kennedy, here's what you would know if you really were a football guy. The Detroit Lions were already locked in. The Detroit Lions can do no worse than the number 3 seed. They had nothing to lose and everything to gain. If they go for the 2 and the win, the worst case scenario is they lose a heartbreaker on the road in Dallas to a team that had won 16 straight home games. Cowboys are playoff bound. They're one of the better teams in the NFL. There's no such thing as a moral victory, but by the same token, I totally get it and understand him going for 2. Just because you go for 2 and take a chance in that situation does not mean that we're not football guys. It really is kind of funny when we have people like Mr. Kennedy who thinks he knows more than most people. Miami J, what are your thoughts?
Look, I'm not going to address the comment. I think it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, we say here in talk football every week. And this guy, Mr. Kennedy, who we've never seen in the chat before.
No, never, ever.
Did we all agree that Dan Campbell should have gone for 2? We all agreed.
100.
Not only that, he had gone for one, it would, if he had gone for the kick, it wouldn't have been a bad call either.
Of course not. Of course not.
You don't go for the tie in that situation. Get out of here. I bet you the Dolphins Ravens today, if it comes down to the same situation, Mike McDaniel or Jim Harbaugh may go for the tie.
For the win. He's going for it.
It doesn't matter. It's a judgment call. Whether it's late in the injuries don't play a factor in that decision.
No, you go for the win. You go for the win. And here's another thing. The play actually worked, Mr. Kennedy, and they got screwed out of the play. So listen, Dan Campbell knows more than Dan Campbell he's probably forgotten more about football than we'll ever know. But it's very easy to see what Mr. Kennedy is doing here. He's playing the result, right? He's the guy who says, man, he went for it on 4th down. What a gutsy, ballsy call. He's a genius. But if he doesn't get it, I can't believe it. This is the worst thing. You guys aren't football guys. You never go for 2 this late in the season on the road. It's very easy to come in here and talk about, I could have seen that this was going to happen. Nobody in their right mind thought that play was going to be called back. So I don't want to hear anybody coming in acting like they're prognosticator extraordinaire. It is what it is. That's why he's an NFL head coach and we're not. As far as I'm concerned, the Detroit Lions won that football game, whether the score indicated it or not. What are your final thoughts on this here, Jay Blaze?
Nothing. It's just I thought Daniel Campbell did the right thing going for 2. He's like, I don't want to. We could not stop CeeDee Lamb. If it goes to the Cowboys, they're not stopping CeeDee Lamb. And I like the call.
Yep,
look,
I do too.
I'll say this: I like the call too. But if he had gone for 1, that wouldn't have been the wrong call either.
Yeah,
absolutely. To me, it was a win-win situation for the Lions. To me, it was. Here's another thing, and this is the last thing I'll say about this. Teddy Bruschi on NFL Sunday NFL Countdown here on ESPN, he said, and this is interesting. He said, if I were Dan Campbell, he says you almost have to lower your heart rate, take a deep breath, don't get lost in the moment, the emotions. Okay, you just got screwed. Clearly, Campbell is upset. He's yelling at the refs. His face is turning red. The other offensive lineman looks like he's about to kill somebody. Taylor Decker's looking around like, holy shit, did I blow the game? Did I not blow the game? Take a deep breath, breathe. Okay, it didn't work this time. Let's just go ahead and kick it. Dan Campbell reacted emotionally and decided to go for it again. And now, whether again, Micah Parsons was offsides, he decides to go for it again. So, listen, again, hindsight is always 20/20. We can, if he had made the 2-point conversion on the second and maybe third try, then at that point we're saying, okay, he went for it. But I agree. I think the proclivity to go for it should have lessened every single time you went for it. You went for it the first time, but after the first time, now you've lost the element of surprise. They know that an offensive lineman is going to report as eligible if they even do that at all. So you've lost the element of surprise. The air is out of the room. The crowd is all over you. It's very easy for us to sit here and say, yes, I would have kicked it after the first time, but we'll never know.
Now,
Go ahead.
Can we close our eyes and imagine Brandon Staley in that situation?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Mr. Kennedy says, no, I was saying you go for 2 and not to kick the field goal. What the WTF, man? Yeah, the way we treat people who like to come in here and talk shit. So I'm going to time you out here because you're starting to get on my nerves. I'm going to time you. You know what? I'm going to time you out for a half an hour. How about that? I'm going to time you out for a half an hour.
Like I said, you were saying to go for 2 or to kick the field goal. It doesn't matter. There was no wrong call.
This is interesting. Trev Stoker says Dallas gets screwed all the time. Micah hasn't gotten a holding call since October. And I'm going to tell you, I agree with that. Here's another thing. Against the Dolphins, Micah Parsons was called for a roughing the passer. I like the Dolphins more than the Cowboys, but I think we can all admit that, hey, you know what? Micah Parsons got screwed on that play. Here's another reason, and I'm going to go way back. A lot of people were sending me text messages after last year's Super Bowl when the Eagles lost by 3 points to the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody says the Eagles lost to the refs because the James Bradbury call on Juju Smith-Schuster. Look, the reason I didn't lose my mind on that is because way back in Super Bowl 52, that was the first year that they had amended the catch rule. If it moves in your hand, all of a sudden now we don't know what a catch is. Guys, that started back in 2017. In Super Bowl 52, Nick Foles throws a touchdown pass to Zach Ertz. According to the rule that had been changed that season, that should not have been a reception. But the NFL decided to make a call and say, you know what? Okay, so we've got this wonky, nobody knows what a catch is. Zach Ertz had possession of the football. Okay, so it moves around a little bit as he falls. He held onto the football in the end zone. He didn't make a catch according to the rule, but it's the Super Bowl. He caught the fucking football. Let's give him the touchdown. Now, we ended up winning that game by 9, so that wasn't the difference. But at that point, that touchdown gave the Eagles the lead for good. I knew right there, I was like, okay, this might actually go our way. Sometimes you get the call, sometimes you don't. We got the call in Super Bowl 52. We didn't in Super Bowl 57. That's why I wasn't tripping. That, to me, that when referees take the game into their hands, it really decreases the quality of the football. And here's another thing I'll say. The Kansas City Chiefs won the AFC title game and the Super Bowl both on defensive penalties that put them in field goal range to kick a chip shot field goal to win the game. I'll just put that out there. I'll give you guys the last words on.
Let me say this, and I've said before, and I'm going to stand by it, that sometimes bad calls are part of the game. They're part of the fan experience. They're part of what gets us so passionate about this. But in this case, the difference is it's becoming systemic.
Yes.
It's becoming a problem with this exact crew. Time after time that they make bad calls that affect the end outcome of each game. That's
you remember the NBA where you had a certain ref.
Hang on, Blaze. MNN Network, he says, Micah always gets held but never gets called. I got it. I agree with you. I don't need you to repeat it 100 times. I got it. And I agree. Micah gets held all the time. It never gets called. I don't need you to put it in the chat 100 times. I agree with you. Please continue.
So you remember the NBA where you had that certain ref who, and every time Paul went and played a game, he always lost. You can't have that. You can't have those kind of optics in the game. Like you just can't.
I agree. Miami Jane. Well, what are your last thoughts on the on the Dallas Detroit thing?
I've said everything I have to say on it. I mean,
Okay,
it can't
very good.
become systemically bad refereeing. Bad calls are one thing. Systemically bad refereeing is another, and that needs to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's another one. Schizo, that's good. Says the NFL wanted the Cowboys and Eagles games to be more important for better ratings. Yeah, the problem was the Eagles were exhausted. Jalen Hurts was probably a little bit sick, but hey, listen, the Cowboys dump trucked us at their house. It is what it is. Brett Roquemore says there is always one Don. Yeah, I don't like when people come in here and act like they know more than everybody else. It is what it is. Trev Stoker says you go for 2 on the road, just didn't work out. Tough to, yeah, that's exactly right. Pro Special says, oh my God, please no, Dolphins have not been very good in the red zone recently. They were good enough last week to beat the Dallas Cowboys. Brett Roquemore says, I'm going to be honest, these non-football guys put a much better NFL show on than anyone at ESPN. I don't know about that, but I appreciate it.
Let me close it out with this. So we're all sitting here, and Mr. Kennedy said, you have to go for 2. You have to go for 2. If he had gone for the tie, if he had kicked it in the first try,
yeah,
nobody would be saying, "Oh my God, he should have gone for 2." It would have been, it would have been an outrage.
Right.
What are we talking about with all this? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Sorry, I had to take this helmet off because
I'm just saying
under this helmet. Jesus Christ! Holy.
We all say we agree that he went for 2 in the first one, but when he was on the 7, he should have kicked it. That's all we're saying.
That was the first thing I said when we started the segment. He should have kicked it.
He should have kicked it. Right. Absolutely. That's funny. You said when he was on the 7. I thought you said when he was on the 7th because it did appear that they went for the 2-point conversion like 7-8 times. Unbelievable. All right, let us go to our next story. And this next story is something else, guys. The Russell Wilson, Sean Payton debacle. It's absolutely cratered. So what has happened is Russell Wilson has been officially benched. He's been officially benched by the Denver Broncos. But the reason why everyone seems to be a little bit perturbed by this decision is that the Broncos are still in the playoff picture. They have not been mathematically eliminated yet. So let me just read the story and then we're going to read the story. Then we're going to watch the Russell Wilson comments on the situation. It is the first time in my that I can remember, pardon me, Russell Wilson actually speaking on something and giving his feelings. So it says Russell Wilson said that in the days after he helped orchestrate the Denver Broncos' first win over the Kansas City Chiefs since 2015, team officials approached him to adjust his salary guarantee in his contract, and if he didn't, he would be benched for the rest of the year. Coach Sean Payton announced Wednesday that Wilson lost a starting job in favor of Jarrett Stidham for Sunday's home game against the Los Angeles Chargers. Payton has said it was strictly a decision based on, quote, winning and to, quote, get a spark offensively. But Wilson said Friday that the Broncos approached him about waiving a guarantee in his 5-year, $246 million contract he signed in 2022 that would give the veteran quarterback, who is already guaranteed $39 million in 2024, whether he's on the team or not, another $37 million, his 2025 salary guaranteed if he could not pass a physical on the 5th day of the new league year in March. Team sources have said they hope to adjust the timing of that guarantee. Speaking Friday, Wilson said that the team's decision makers told him that Monday or Tuesday after the Broncos' October 29th win over the Chiefs that they would bench him if he didn't adjust that $37 million guarantee. They definitely told me I was going to be benched and all that, Wilson said. That whole bye week, I didn't know what was going to be the case. I was going to be ready to play. I wanted to go to Buffalo and beat Buffalo. I wasn't going to remove the injury guarantee. This game is such a physical game. I've played 12 years and all that. I want to be able to play. He continues, I want to be able to help this team win. I know every time I step on the field, it's a physical game. I never play timid. I never play scared. The Broncos were 3-5 after the win versus the Chiefs, and an injury to Wilson over the season's final 9 games could have triggered the guarantee if it was serious enough for him to be unable to pass a physical come March. Wilson said the NFL and its players associations, quote unquote, got involved, and he remained Denver starters as the team posted wins over the Bills, the Vikings, and the Browns in the weeks that followed, but with 3 losses in the past 4 games, including Sunday to the New England Patriots, after which Payton was openly critical of the offense. Wilson was formally benched. So let's listen to Russell Wilson and hear what he has to say about the situation. Again, this is unlike Russ to make comments about things that involve him. So let's listen in and see what happened here. And again, this is fair use. Oh, guys are saying that there's no audio. Okay, well, anyway, Russell is talking about the situation. You guys say you can't hear the simp. All they can hear is Sierra coming out of Russell Wilson. Sorry about that, guys. I don't really know what's going on with this. Jay Blaze, what are your thoughts on the Russell Wilson Sean Payton situation? What in God's name is happening in Denver?
So what's happened in Denver? We all know Russ was an absolute train wreck last season, and he's gotten a lot better. But dude, he cannot run Sean Payton's offense.
No.
Where you had Drew Brees, he surgically ran that offense. But dude, Drew Brees was on the short side. But if you look, he played on his tippy toes. So
Yes.
because he did that, he was actually like 6'2". Russ can't see over the offensive lineman.
Right.
He's a very Sean Payton's offense is very timing oriented, and Russ, he likes to just scramble around and just make stuff up. And if you remember, he just throws deep balls it was almost like a punt. The throws he would throw in Seattle, and that is not Sean Payton's offense. And you saw Sean Payton rip into Russell Wilson a week or two ago.
Yes.
And dude, he's frustrated with Russ. He's like, dude, you're supposed to be a really good quarterback, but dude, they don't line up. And this is why I think Sean Payton screwed up, and he could have done another year of television on Fox, and
Yep.
he would have the Chargers job. He would be with a Justin Herbert, and he would have a ready-made team in the Chargers. And I think he screwed up by going to the Broncos and dealing with this stuff. But I think they try and deal Russell Wilson maybe to the Steelers, the Redskins, or I can't remember the team. But dude, you got to deal him, and you get what you get from it. But they sat him so they wouldn't have to pay his injury guarantee, because if he gets injured in these last two games, they have a dead money hit, like an immense one.
Miami J, what are your initial thoughts on this, man?
Look, I've been thinking about this for a few days now, and this situation feels very, very wrong. And I want to have a problem with it, but I look at it from every side, and I simply don't. You know,
Right.
if Sean Payton wants to bench his quarterback, he's the head coach. That's on him. If the franchise wants to come to him and make a business deal with them, that's on them. And Russell doesn't have to accept crap. So I don't know who's in the wrong here, but it does feel wrong. I don't get it. This is a weird situation. If I'm the Broncos, I'm trading Russell, and that's it. Keep Sean Payton, trade Russell, get your quarterback. But I don't know who's in the wrong here. That's my problem. I can't figure it out.
You know, it's interesting. I don't know. If I agree with you, Miami J, if Sean Payton wanted to bench Russell Wilson because he believed that Jarrett Stidham gave them the best chance and opportunity to win, then we would understand that, but we would still know that that's BS. Nobody on God's green earth thinks that Jarrett Stidham gives the Broncos a better chance to win than
the
Russell
coaching
Wilson.
decision, the coaching decision is one thing. I don't agree with it either. I mean, we have
Okay.
really short memories. The Broncos were 1-4. They got 70 put on them by the Dolphins. And, Russell Wilson and Sean Payton have brought them back into playoff contention. That's admirable. That's laudable. And to bench him now, I think is ridiculous. I think you play him out the rest of the year. Hopefully he gets you guys into the playoffs. But ultimately, it's Sean Payton's decision. If he wants to bench his quarterback, that's it. Now, if all these things had happened within the same week, I would say this is blatantly a business thing, and Sean Payton's for some reason putting out the excuse that he wants to spark. But this has happened over a long time, and so I'm not sure everything's correlated. If they had benched him back 3 weeks ago before Thanksgiving, I would say a business decision, and they're trying to paint it as a football decision. But I'm not sure where to go here.
Now, does this affect it if Jarrett Stidham absolutely balls out today, or if he absolutely shits the bed?
It justifies or denies that Sean Payton is to do it. Absolutely.
Look. Let me give you guys an example here. I'm just going to speak to exactly what Miami J said here. Like, maybe Jarrett Stidham is the better quarterback. DeShiznit says Stidham can see, though. DeShiznit, love you to death, but we're not going to sit here and pretend that Jarrett Stidham gives the Broncos a better chance to win this football game. No one is going to convince me that they actually believe that. I go back to February 11th of 1990. Mike Tyson versus James Buster Douglas. 42-1 underdog. Some people won a lot of money because they bet on James Buster Douglas, right? Not one person who bet on James Buster Douglas actually thought that Buster Douglas would beat Tyson. Everyone on earth, born or otherwise, knew that Mike Tyson was going to win the fight. And if you put money on James Buster Douglas, as soon as the referee put his arms around Mike Tyson, signaling the end of the fight, not one person who bet on James Buster Douglas was just, I'm not surprised. No, they all jumped into the air, thanked their lucky stars, couldn't believe that this was probably the greatest upset in the history of boxing since Cassius Clay, then Muhammad Ali, beat Sonny Liston. So the point is this: we can sit here and say that we can pretend that we think that Jarrett Stidham is a better starting quarterback than the Broncos, and maybe Jarrett Stidham does go and ball out, but ain't nobody betting on that. Nobody's betting on the fact that Jarrett Stidham is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. And that I think is probably where people have a problem with this.
Let's face it, Jarrett Stidham's not Tommy DeVito.
No. Well, I'm going to tell you what, Tommy DeVito wasn't really Tommy DeVito. The Philadelphia Eagles put an end to that little story in less than a half. Kind of like how the boys from Vegas took care of Monet. Ronald White says they will end up cutting him. No team is taking on that contract via trade. MNN Network says Jarrett Stidham is ass. Absolutely. MNN says both quarterbacks are ass, though. No, they're not. Russell Wilson played like a top 12 quarterback this year. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. And this is interesting. And I want to ask you guys about this. It's clear that Sean Payton never really liked Russell Wilson as a person. I just think they just had a personality clash. I think that there are certain people who can get along with certain people. But here's the thing. It's funny because normally the media loves to cape up for black quarterbacks. They cape up for Lamar Jackson. You guys saw Dominique Foxworth and his dumbass defending Lamar Jackson a couple of years back with that ridiculous quote. Dak Prescott for MVP. Dak Prescott beats up on a bunch of fucking tomato cans, goes on the road, beats the Carolina Panthers. Dak Prescott for MVP. Jalen Hurts is the second coming of God, and this and that and the third. Yet with Russell Wilson, the media doesn't really cape up for Russ. Would you like to know why? Because Russell Wilson ain't black enough. There, I fucking said it. Up until the Broncos actually tried to screw Russ, and now it appears that the media is on the side of Russ. Up until then, the black media never really liked Russell Wilson. They thought he was a square. They thought he was an Uncle Tom, a sellout, a coon. He married a white girl that cheated on him. Russell Wilson thought that he would get back into the good graces of the black community by marrying Sierra. All it did was it fueled their vitriol towards him. Let's just keep it real. The reason why black people don't like Russ is because he's a goddamn square. It is what it is. And you want to know something? I can identify with that on some level. So Jay Blaze, you and I, we talk about this all the time. Is the hate for Russ racially fueled by, I guess, I don't want to call it reverse racism, but do black people, and I know I'm kind of taking a chance here talking to white people about how black people feel, but do you think that Russell Wilson's public image, him being a square and not really a hood nigga, do you really think that was the reason for a lot of the hate? Because remember, Marshawn Lynch came out against him. Golden Tate came out against him. Jesus fucking Christ. Richard Sherman. A lot of guys talked a lot of shit about Russ being a square and being too cool for school. What are your thoughts?
So I think it's just the choices he makes. And dude, he just looks like you can't be that overly optimistic Like you can't be like it throws people off. You're going like no one's this overly optimistic, and then you had the Sierra thing where his stepson is named Future,
Oh
and
my
you're
God.
going, and then the pictures where he's always leaning into her, and you're going, this guy's like very strange, and dude, it throws people off, and you just can't put your
Yeah.
finger on it. You're like, it just ugh,
Yeah, you look.
he's cringe.
Yes, yeah. Listen, I'll admit, Russ is cringe as a motherfucker. But the funny thing is, and look, even I was guilty of it. As recently as 2 years ago, we all looked. Russ is so canned, and we don't really know who he is, guys. He's been like this for 12 years. This is who he is. At some point, we have to stop. We have to stop with this until we see otherwise. This is kind of who Russ is at the podium. He's robo quarterback. This is kind of how it is. What are your thoughts, Miami J?
Well, look, I'm not honestly. I'm not touching the race stuff with a 10-foot pole, but I will say this: I don't really follow. Many players like outside of watching them play and watching the sports media. I don't follow any on Instagram or anything like that. So let me ask you this: what makes Russell Wilson more of a square than say Dak Prescott? Because they both look pretty squarish to me.
Yes. No. It's the tattoos. It's the tattoos.
Oh,
Russell Wilson is married. He has children. He doesn't have tattoos. He's big into faith. And I'm not saying that I'm not calling Dak Prescott some heathen, but this is why, look, black quarterbacks, I think, I can't think of another black quarterback that didn't have the kind of street cred that seemed to automatically come with being a black quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, there it is. Sims Jamal says Dak is actually about that life. That's exactly right. Dak Prescott was getting into fights at Mississippi State University. He was raised essentially by a single mom. His name is Dakota Rain Prescott. Scott. Dak Prescott's father was Dak's father was an alpha nigga player extraordinaire. He knocked up a white girl. He dipped. So Dak Prescott is about that life. A lot of people can identify with a lot of black people in the NFL can identify what Dak Prescott's gone through. He's got the tattoos. He plays for the Cowboys. Russell Wilson was raised in a two-parent household. Very stable family, strong-ish father, strong mother, good, strong family unit. So, of course, he's going to come out a little bit square. And I think that that's the main difference between those two. And it's funny that you say that, Miami J. Physically, they look the same, and they have about the same limitations physically. They run about the same. I think they have I don't know. Russ's arm is probably a little stronger than Dak's. But yes, they look similar physically, but that's where the similarities end. Yeah, MNN Network says, yeah, Dak went to school in Mississippi, bro. Like he went to Mississippi State University with Darius Slay and those boys, man. Go ahead.
I will say, Dak never had a whiteout screw his wife, and that's exactly what Russell had.
Yep.
Let
And
me
that,
say this, though.
you know what? You're right. That actually helped it too. Go ahead, Miami J. Go ahead.
I said I wasn't going to touch the race stuff, but this is where black
Here we
activism
go.
is the mainstream of the population. You can't pick and choose which black people you're going to stand up for. You're either going to stand up for all black people or you're not.
That's the problem with the black community. You see, Miami, and see,
we have that in the Hispanic community too.
Isn't it something? Isn't it incredible how this is prevalent in the same issues that the black community has goes on the community, the Latino community, the Asian community. It's absolutely crazy.
Let me tell you why it is. And so somebody who comes from the political realm, right?
Okay.
It's not about actually standing up for black people. It's not about actually standing up for Hispanics or Christians or whatever your group is, or women or whoever. It's about keeping the fire of the issue alive so that you can continue to fundraise. That's what it's about.
And I will say, the Dak versus Russ, you've never had, and this is why choosing the right woman is very important. You've never had one of Dak's girlfriends or anything openly disrespect him, like Sierra did on that red carpet.
Yeah.
And
let me put it this way: if tomorrow a pill was invented that essentially eradicated tooth decay, dentists wouldn't be for that pill.
That's exactly right.
Take their business away.
So let me stop you right there. So this right here is the problem with the black community. Spirit of Justice, the Enigma Empath, says, so it's black people's fault a white coach benched a black quarterback? Nobody said that. I did not say that it is black people's fault that Sean Payton benched a black quarterback. That is not what I said at all. What I literally said, you got to go back and listen. At no time did I say it was black people's fault that a white coach benched a black quarterback. And that's the problem with niggas is they for whatever reason, man, niggas can't seem to read. They don't have to read between the lines. Niggas love reading between the lines and pointing out what they think is a racial comment. And here's another thing. If it was O'Shea Duke Jackson up here having this conversation, I guarantee you this nigga right here probably wouldn't even be saying that. Would you like to know why? Because O'Shea Duke Jackson is signed off on the black community. Dr. Umar Johnson is signed off by the black community. Kevin Samuels was signed off by the black community here over my shoulder. Donovan Sharp, oh no, you see the names they call me? That comment right there, this is exactly the kind of treatment that Russell Wilson has gotten since he's been in the league. Niggas, it's not even black people. Niggas love to pick and choose which black people they support. When Robert Johnson or Robert Smith, I can't remember what his name is, he announced that he was going to cover everybody's scholarship at an HBCU. What did the black community come out and say? It's invalid because he's married to a white woman. So a black man offers to pay scholarships for a bunch of black students, but that's invalid because he's married to a what the fuck does him being married to a white woman have to do with the color of his money? No. This is what niggas do. And I'm not Latino, so I'm not really privy to this stuff. But guys, we go through this stuff all the time. And when I say we, I mean guys like myself. Now, I'm not Russell Wilson by any stretch of the imagination, but it is absolutely incredible. And the comment on the screen right there literally just proves exactly what I said. Right or wrong, fair or unfair or indifferent. This, I think, is the reason why that the media has not caped up for Russell Wilson the same way they cape up for other black quarterbacks. Go ahead, Jay Blaze. I thought you had something.
Hey, he's a Figment male, so he knows better than us.
Do not get me. Don't get me started. Spirit of Justice says black people hate Russell Wilson. Yes, actually they do. Spirit of Justice. Like, nigga, wake up. Like, have you, like, you know, where's Mr. Kennedy? Yeah, Spirit of Justice is clearly not a football guy. Clearly not a football guy. It's unbelievable. All right.
And look, it's not about Russell. It goes beyond that. You can look at politics. If the goal is to get a black president, where was the black community supporting Tim Scott in the Republican primary?
There you go.
It's about politics. It's not about race.
Spirit of Justice, the Sigma empath says, no need to insult. My show, my rules. If you act like a nigga, I'm gonna call you a nigga. It is what it is.
Not to mention the Ravens logo kind of puts you down. It's a downgrade today. So I'm not gonna talk shit about the Ravens. Me neither.
I'm
scared about
look, the way the Eagles are playing right now. Look, we don't want any part of. We don't want any. Listen, we can barely look. Of all the birds we can fuck with, dude, we'll fuck with the Falcons. We'll fuck with the Cardinals. Hell, we might even fuck with the doppelganger Eagles, but we ain't fucking with the Ravens. I'm not talking. Lamar Jackson is the greatest quarterback ever. Jim Harbaugh's in the Hall of Fame. All credit, all hail to the Ravens. Sims Jamal, this is interesting. He says, imagine a house nigga coming to hang out with the slaves, then going into the house. And that's listen, but do you see that? This is how, and I'm not saying that this is wrong of the black community to do this. This is just how I interpret it. This is how the black community, which is run by niggas, they call guys like Russell Wilson a house nigger. They call me a house nigger because I have a strong command of the English language and I'm married to a white girl. It is what it is. So give me a second. Now, here's the thing. Now, Spirit of Justice, the Sigma empath, redeems himself and says, #1 team in the league, bro. I'll give you Don DeMarco for that.
Can't argue with that right now.
Yeah, Ravens beat the shit out of the.
Oh, yeah, dude. The Baltimore Ravens are
We'll see what happens.
They're absolutely for real. Okay. Our next story. Give me a second. Yes. So this is a very interesting story. And the thing is I was like, I remember when the NFL announced that they were having all these games on Christmas, and I remember thinking to myself, that's really going to compete with the NBA. We know that the NBA's ratings are suffering. That's why they did the in-season tournament. Well, So in this article on CBS on USA Today says NFL ratings dominate Christmas viewership of over NBA slate of games. Sorry about that. For the fourth year in a row, the article starts, the NFL has had at least one game on Christmas Day. This year marked the second in a row with 3 games across 3 networks, the most games on the holiday in the NFL's 19 years of Christmas Day games. The NBA, which has a long tradition of Christmas games dating back to 1947, also had a full slate of matchups. Viewership numbers via Front Office Sports show it isn't a close fight for viewers on Christmas between the two leagues. The NFL had one of its best days for viewership of the season, while the NBA saw a decline in viewership compared to 2022 in most games. So Jay Blaze, you're the one that brought me that brought this attention to me. Sims Jamal says, I love Saturday games. Dude, Saturday games is like cheesecake that's good for you. Like, you gotta love it. So what are your thoughts on this on the ratings gap between the NFL and the NBA?
So this is showing that the NBA has lost the plot. They have completely said to the average viewer, we don't want you. Like, you have, I believe it was Kobe Covington went on the Pat David podcast, he literally says, you have the face of your franchise, your absolute face of the league is LaChina James, which he hates America. Like, you cannot have somebody who hates America as the face of the league.
Right.
And then you have it where you're watching the NBA games and they now just huck up threes. And if the threes aren't falling, you cannot win because you're not training in any other category. This is why the Nuggets won the championship, because they're a well-balanced team. And you bring these, and then you have where teams were just saying to their top players, just take the day off. And if you have fans go into a game and they're saying, what, the marquee game player isn't playing, like, this is bullshit. We spent hundreds of dollars to watch this guy play. You cannot have that. And if you add all this up, and then you have a very a commissioner that will not enforce rules, where you have Draymond Green that keeps openly just saying the league, you don't control me. And then you have John Morant, who finally came back and he did a slam dunk, and he's doing a gun gesture.
Yeah.
And you're going, that is literally saying to Adam Silver, no, you mean nothing to me. What you say means nothing to me.
Crazy.
And you can't have all this.
I remember when Gilbert Arenas, do you guys remember the Gilbert Arenas, Javaris Crittenden situation where they pulled guns on each other in the locker room? Gilbert Arenas got suspended for like 10 or 11 games, whatever the case may be. Then when he came back from his suspension, he gets into the huddle after being announced, and he's like, I was like, oh my God. That's essentially what Ja Morant did. Miami J, what are your thoughts on the NBA compared to the NFL?
So to me, there's no comparison, and I think the media should stop comparing them. You could have brought back Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant to play in the NBA championship against LeBron and Steph Curry. They were never going to beat the NFL. The holidays in America are synonymous with football. From Thanksgiving till the Super Bowl, football's the only sport people think about. You're not going to be able to compete with the NFL. I don't care who you are. So to me, that's the end of the conversation right there, honestly.
This is actually a very good question by Vicious. He says, Donovan Sharp, tell us about your thoughts on black quarterbacks. Now, this is very interesting. You guys know that I'm a lifelong Eagles fan ever since I could remember. And I remember I became an Eagles fan. I started becoming an Eagles fan. Randall Cunningham was the quarterback. So I've been through Randall Cunningham, Rodney Peete, Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick. Now it's the Jalen Hurts regime. They did nobody saw the Eagles coming last year. So when the Eagles got out the gate at 8-0, 8-1, I remember they had this really cool sit down. So Robert Griffin III was the guy that He was the guy that moderated this discussion, and they're all sitting on stairs. You guys might have seen this. This is actually before the Eagles' first loss on the Monday Night Football game, the bullshit call with Taylor Heineke, Brandon Graham, and all that. But it was Jalen Hurts, Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb, and Randall Cunningham, and it was so cool. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? For most of my life, the Eagles have always had a black quarterback. Yeah, there were the Nick Foles years, the Carson Wentz years. I think we had Kevin Cobb was in there. He got hurt. That's what opened the door for Vic. I think we had Coy Detmer at one point, Ty Detmer's little brother. But by and large, the superstar quarterback in the city of Philadelphia has always been black. And I'm going to tell you what, man, I think what that shows is that, especially with black quarterbacks, I'm not going to get into this debate or discussion about genetic superiority, but most professional athletes in this country are black. That's just a statement of fact. It is what it is. But now that these black quarterbacks, Andre Ware is the first black quarterback to ever win the Heisman Trophy, and now they win it all the time. Dude, Charlie Ward, the guy who just won it, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr. Was a Heisman finalist. So my thoughts on black quarterbacks is I think it's actually very, very cool. I think it's really cool when we start to get a little bit diverse. The University of Hawaii had a quarterback by the name of Timmy Chang. We've got Marcus Mariota, first Hawaiian-born player to win the Heisman Trophy. Tua Tagovailoa is Hawaiian-born. So yeah, I like the fact that other guys are getting opportunities to play quarterback, because if they didn't, then the brotherly shove would have never been invented. But yeah, those are my thoughts on black quarterbacks. I think it's very, very cool. I also think it's pretty cool that I guess half black quarterback is the best quarterback in football. But by the same token, that's how I feel about black quarterbacks. But I think it's also obvious that especially ESPN, they cape up for black quarterbacks no matter what. You go back and you look at that Dominique Foxworth debate with Chris Mad Dog Russo, when Dominique Foxworth is poo-pooing Joe Montana's 4 Super Bowls when comparing him to Lamar Jackson. It is absolutely unequivocally true that the media capes up for black quarterbacks except for Russell Wilson, and we all know why that is. So give us your final thoughts on the Christmas Day viewership here, Jay Blaze. Appreciate it.
So you had the first game had like I think 5 million, but the rest had like 2 to 1 million, and that is disastrous. And they have a TV deal coming up. Like the NBA wants 3 times the rating, and they're literally like pulling the WNBA like an anchor behind them. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So they want to increase their revenue so they can keep the max players and stuff going. And dude, you can't do that if you don't get a big TV deal. And dude, the NFL is crushing in TV deals. And if you're ESPN, TNT, or NBC, why would you pay money for a product which is only getting you like 2 to 5 million people? Like, are you going to pay big money for that?
Right. Listen, that's a very good question. At some point, it has to become about economics instead of justice. So let's take a look at the numbers here. The Knicks and the Bucks, 2.5 million viewers. The Nuggets and the Warriors, good game, 4 million viewers. We all knew that this was going to be the highest viewed game. The Lakers and Celtics, 5 million views. The Heat and the Sixers without Joel Embiid, 1.3. The Suns and the Mavericks, late game, 1.47 million views. Now let's go to the NFL's ratings. And this is what shows you, man. They say that baseball is America's pastime. Football is America's passion. For whatever reason, it's not showing me what the ratings are. Whatever the ratings are,
27 and then 29.
27 and 29 million. So they had more. Let's just do some crack mathematics here. So let's go with 27 million. That was the lower one, right? One game had 27 million viewers. So one game had had almost twice as many viewers as all of the NBA games combined. Football is king, man. Football is king.
And these are actually really good matchups. Like, yes, you would think like these are marquee games.
Dude, these are very good games. That's why they put them on Christmas. Demonio316 says, I only watch the NBA during the playoffs. I'm the same way. I watch I think I start watching the NBA right around like the latter parts of like May when the seedings are going into play. But yeah, I only watch the NBA during the playoffs. I don't even watch them on Christmas. I mean, Let
me ask you, Don.
Yeah.
Say you're given the I hereby swear you the NBA commissioner of the NBA.
Oh boy.
How do you fix the NBA?
Oh my God, that's Jesus. That's a very good question. The way I would fix the NBA, man. I don't know that there's a way. I just think that I think there's just too much. There's too much wokeness, too much social justice, warrior type stuff. I think it's plainly obvious that yeah, it's kind of like an SJW. Everything with the WNBA to the whole LaChina James thing, they won't acknowledge the fact that hey, you know what, we're in the tank, and then of course you've got I don't know. I think the NBA with all of the social justice warrior stuff, we're starting to see the effects of that. We had the Colin Kaepernick situation, but football is so big, nothing like the Colin Kaepernick situation was ever going to take it down.
Like
Let
the
me-
NBA is pulling back on it, but the players, you can clearly see there's a left bias and they cannot say anything that is right. They
No.
can't do anything like that.
Overall,
Oh, go ahead, Sean.
right, but I will say for Christmas, for example, for Christmas specifically, what were the stakes of the NBA games that were on? There were no stakes. They're
No,
like,
Yeah.
"There's
regular
the
season
nobody
games."
cares about these games. The NFL had actual stakes on Christmas Day. People were tuning in to watch for a reason.
Oh, absolutely.
Let
Absolutely.
me, let me ask you guys something. You say the NBA wants 3 times the money for the next contract. How much are TV networks paying the NBA right
That's a good question.
Average.
I don't know.
Because I look at
It can't be 8 figures. They're not. I mean, maybe they're signing billion-dollar deals. I can't imagine that.
Well, the Regis Television Sport recently was Fox paying $1.2 billion for the FIFA World Cup.
No, I agree. I totally agree.
I don't know what the NBA is hoping to get here.
Well,
I mean, if I'm negotiating from the TV networks deals, I'm not offering them more than I gave them last time.
no, hell no. That is.
But-
Let me ask you, Blaze. How would you fix the NBA?
Like you look at the 90s where you had 20 million people tuning in to the NBA.
Absolutely.
Like, how can we get back to that? Like, do you bring back the hand check? Do you stop the whole finesse, like completely finesse league? And dude, you cannot have like these owners completely catering to China and having that stuff. You just can't do it. Like,
So this is
and-
listen. This is a confluence of events. Just like you, number one, Blaze said China. That's the first reason the ratings are down. The second reason the ratings are down are because of the what do they call that? The resting players. What's the term that they call
load management.
yeah, load management. That had been going on for years and gradually got worse until finally Kawhi Leonard just started being a healthy scratch. Then of course there are the politics, the social justice warring stuff, the whole Brittany Griner situation. And by the way, I wanted Brittany Griner to come home. I really did. Yeah, she was anti-American, but at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? Okay, she sat in a Russian prison for 9 months. Let's go ahead and bring her back home. She will never badmouth America again. Point taken. The NBA never even acknowledged that. Like this is a woman who badmouthed America every chance she got. Then when she got taken advantage of in a Russian prison, all of a sudden she wants to be God bless America. A lot of people were turned off by that. I think it's a confluence of events, and I don't know that it can be fixed. Maybe you bring back the handshake, maybe bring back the back to the basket centers, but I don't know that it can be fixed, man.
And then you have the Enes Kanter, who actually was pro-America, and he hasn't played since. Like, you just can't have all these anti-American sentiments
I agree.
and all this stuff. And you need to get back to like some bare bones, like NBA, like people like actually getting dirty. And I think you need to bring that back because you can't just have people just throwing up threes and you're just going, why wouldn't and they're missing it and you're just going, why don't you take a better shot? Like,
it's because of Stephen Curry. I think Stephen Curry. And listen, I love Stephen Curry, greatest shooter ever. And by the way, Trev Stoker says NBA on NBC. That's when it was lit. I'm gonna give you a Don DeMarco for that. NBA on NBC. That was an event, man, and it didn't matter who was playing. Dude, back in the 90s, the Pacers and the Knicks, the Bulls and the Knicks, the Lakers and the Bulls. Like, dude, like the music, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. That's when the NBA was lit. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I will say the only NBA players that I feel like I can actually feel related to are Giannis and Jokic, because they're
Foreign
like,
born players.
and you can't have that. You need NBA players. You need some American born players to be relatable. Like you need to say, yeah, I could see myself as that guy. But these NBA players are treated like princesses throughout high school, college, and they can do no wrong. And then you expect them to be these guys where, like, the average person can say, yeah, I can relate to that guy. You
Yeah.
can't.
That's a good point. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jack.
No, I'll just say this. I just walked through the fridge and I thought about this. I don't think the sport is the problem, because March Madness gets crazy ratings.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So it's the league. It's not the sport.
Because you had the women's college last year. They were pulling in really good
More-
ratings.
Listen, women's college, I'm going to say it right now. Women's college basketball is more compelling than men's college basketball. I guarantee you, if Iowa plays LSU again at any time, that's breaking all the records. Everybody wants to see Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese Part 2. What rivalry are we looking to see in NBA in men's college basketball? Back in the day, it was Michael Jordan versus Georgetown, and I don't even think Ewing was there at the time. I remember all of the college basketball rivalries, the Duke Carolina rivalries.
And
That's
there
not
you have
even as big as it used to be.
And
I'll
there
give you the
have
last
it.
word.
That's how you start fixing the NBA, is by not allowing these college kids to play half a year and then clear for the draft. Do what the NFL does. They got to play a certain amount of years in college.
Yeah, and
'Cause-
you know what? Go ahead.
You now have the NAL deals.
That'll fix college basketball, and that'll translate into the NBA.
Okay,
Because you have, because the Caitlin Clark thing, there's a reason to care, because they're going back the next year, and you want LSU versus Caitlin Clark, and so you need these college players, these men's college players, to come back and say, but all you have is a school name. You don't have any of the players to really bring that rivalry home. And now, because of LeBron putting all the power in the players' hands, it's too one-sided towards the players in the NBA.
I agree.
And so you need to give some of the power back.
I do agree with that, but I disagree with requiring high school graduates to play at least a year in college, or I don't like that rule at all. In every other sport except for football, and football, it's obvious because an 18-year-old kid's body is not ready for a 16-game NFL season. That's obvious. Every once in a while you get a genetic freak, but even then football's just a different animal. But in any other sport, golf, dude, women's, in every other sport, listen, when you are 18 years of age in this country, you are now in the age of majority, which means that you can now vote, you can buy cigarettes, you can go out and get gainful employment. And so if these kids coming out of high school, if they are good enough to play in the NBA, then I believe they should go to the NBA. The issue that a lot of people have is the fact that they're just uncomfortable with young black men becoming instant millionaires. Let's just keep it real. A lot of people have a problem with that. They never had a problem with Tiger Woods turning pro and not finishing at Stanford, did they? Nope, never had a problem with that at all. But they got a problem with, I don't know, Stromile Swift, playing for a half an hour at Villanova. Whatever. And you know what? I'm just gonna go for the NBA. I don't know how you fix college. The only thing that I would say, you fix college basketball the way they've kind of adjusted with college football. You got to have competitive NIL money. You got to give these kids an incentive to come to your school and stay at your school. Because think about this: all of the college playoff the playoff wins are all the playoff. The quarterbacks are how can I put this? I don't know what I'm trying to say here. All of the quarterbacks are transfers. Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, all of those quarterbacks are transfer quarterbacks. Something like that could have been happening in college basketball, but they've got to incentivize this. I'll give you guys the last word on this.
Let me just clarify. I wasn't necessarily speaking about the players not being ready or anything like that.
Okay,
I
all
was
right.
saying
Okay.
the best high school players, many of them go straight to the NBA.
Yeah, they do.
If you put those players in college, that'll up the college game, create more rivalry,
You're lying.
create more interest, and then people are going to want to follow those storylines into the NBA.
I agree.
That's what I'm
I agree.
talking about.
No, dude, I agree with you 100%. And here's the thing: why do 18-year-old high school players go to the NBA instead of college? Money.
To get their money.
Guess
Yeah.
what? There you go. So if the Kentuckys and the Kansases and the Dukes and the North Carolinas and the Michigan States, if they could be competitive with the NBA, be like, look, man, your rookie salary is going to be XYZ. Hey, look, check this out. We know you want to go pro. Let us help you take care of your family right now while you get an education, hone your basketball skills, and increase your draft stock. I agree with that 100%. I agree. With
And
that.
I think they need to bring back hard coaching in college
Oh yeah.
because these players are like divas when they get to the NBA, and you can't relate to them. And I think that's how you fix the WNBA, because the WNBA, what did they want? They want women to watch basketball. Women don't care because these women are butch lesbians that hate America. And,
Yeah. Good.
But if you could create the WNBA to have like a fashion show before the game, or like be like glamorous or something, you could bring in female watchers, but they don't do any of that stuff because they're butch lesbians.
The thing is women are not, look, we watch sports because we like to watch people performing athletic feats that most people can't perform. I could never play in a WNBA game. I'm a slob, you know what I'm saying? I'm a 46-year-old man,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But relative to the way other games are played, women just don't have the same athletic ability. I think the WNBA is nothing more than a charity. The way to fix the WNBA is to get rid of it. And you know the NBA is never going to get rid of the WNBA, so it's going to be here to stay.
Well, if you focus on other elements than the game, I think you could bring in women. Like if you brought in like these girls, like actually like caring about their appearance and stuff, because the biggest movie of last year or this year was Barbie.
Right.
And if you could bring in some elements of that into the WNBA, you could compete in other areas than the NBA. But they're not doing any of that stuff.
I totally agree. I think that the NBA, I think the most attractive NBA player back in the day was Lisa Leslie. Dude, I had a huge crush on Lisa Leslie, even though she was like 6'5". Elena Della Don. Dude, we like attractive women. We like women who know they're attractive and just like you said, take care of themselves. There is a reason why Livy Dunn has NIL. There is a reason why Caitlin Clark, other than her shooting prowess, is one of the biggest stars, is because they're female, they're feminine. There's another girl who plays for Cameron Brink, who plays for Stanford. That bitch is 6'3". That bitch is hot as fuck. Like, dude, Cameron Brink, look her up. So I think that if the WNBA marketed women who like to be feminine and femininity and all that other kind of stuff, but that goes directly against their narrative. That's just all there is to it.
Exactly.
Let's go to our next topic here. And we got to wrap things up because I'm not missing that Eagles versus Cardinals game. We've got the MVP odds here. So as we all know, the Baltimore Ravens dump trucked the San Francisco 49ers. I don't even remember what the score was. It was a lot to a little. So that means Lamar Jackson is now the odds-on favorite to win the NFL Most Valuable Player Award, followed by Christian McCaffrey. Josh Allen has snuck into the conversation. Miami J, what are your thoughts on the MVP conversation? Who do you think it's going to go to and why?
So I think number one is interchangeable. I think the winner of today's game will take over the number one spot. If Tua goes and beats the Ravens, Tua needs to be highly, highly, highly considered.
Absolutely.
Other than that, to me, I give it to Christian McCaffrey at this point. I don't see a team that's doing as good as they do without a player other than Christian McCaffrey in the San Francisco 49ers. You know, Lamar Jackson, he's done his thing. Josh Allen, Tua. By the way, notice how low Dak Prescott is on this list.
Yeah.
To me, the MVP is dead on Christian McCaffrey.
Jay Blaze, what you got?
Sorry, not just.
Oh wait, hold on. Go ahead.
But he's also the MVP of the TSR Fantasy League, which the championship today features against that guy down here.
Go ahead.
So you have it where
fuck you, J214. Fuck you. Go ahead.
So you have it where the reason Lamar Jackson is up there is because it was a prime time
Yep.
Christmas Day game, and he like Brock Purdy threw 4 INTs, and he basically said, "I don't want this." Like, and
Yeah, that was rough.
that's why he's all the way down there. And so you need a prime time game. And which one of these quarterbacks has a prime time game left? Because that's where you win it.
No, actually, Jalen's played all his. Probably Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to win it. Dak had his last one yesterday. I think the last primetime game for an MVP candidate is Baltimore and Miami. They're not playing it in prime time, but this is it. Like, this is it. It's not a standalone game, but it may as well be. Go ahead, Miami.
You also have Tua and Josh Allen going next week. But let me throw a scenario at you guys.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Good.
There's a guy that's not on this list. Let's say Miami wins today, loses against the Bills, and somehow the Browns sneak up to the number one seed. How do you not give it to Joe Flacco?
The MVP?
I don't know how you give it to him if he hasn't played more than.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't care.
Half
Look, I don't care, and I think those are stupid rules.
Yeah.
If the Browns sneak up to the
Okay.
number one seed, if
okay.
they win out, I give it to Joe
Yeah,
Flacco.
I love it.
Hot take. I love
I'd
it.
give it to. Yeah, I'd give it to Flacco because,
Dude, I love
dude, it is. It's going to be an absolute clown show if they give the NFL Comeback Player of the Year to DeMar Hamlin. It's going to be a clown show.
Yeah.
Let me say this: nothing would
He's
be
not
more
the-
satisfying for the city of Cleveland to watch the Browns go into Baltimore and put a whooping on them.
Oh,
So listen. We you guys touched on a lot of different subjects here. Sims Journal says it's Dak or nothing. Trev Stoker says hashtag MVP Prescott. Dallas would be nowhere without him. Ravens have the number one defense for Lamar to lean on. Tua has Tyreek and fast running backs in defense. It's Dak Prescott. Here's the thing. I
Let
don't
me-
care. Hold on, just real quick. Here's the thing. For all of these, halfway through last season, it was clear who the MVP was going to be. Well, maybe it was going to be Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes, right? And about when we got to like 11-1, 12-1, I said, wait a minute, let me pump the brakes here on this Jalen for MVP. If he wins the MVP, now we got to pay him. Okay. Now, fortunately for us, I think we have one of the best GMs in football in Howie Roseman. Very creative, very aggressive. He's very good at what he does. Well, here's how this compares the situation to the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas still has to pay CeeDee Lamb. Okay. They still got to pay Tyler Smith. They still got to pay Micah Parsons. And they got to pay Dak Prescott. If Dak Prescott wins the MVP, and the fact that Dak Prescott is even on the list, that means Prescott is probably going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of $60 million a year. Dak Prescott ain't no $60 million a year quarterback. I don't care what y'all say. So listen, I hope, is Dak Prescott the most valuable player in the NFL? Fuck no. Dak Prescott might not even be, dude, Dak Prescott's not even the best player on his own team. The best offensive player is arguably Tyron Smith, because when Tyron Smith's not in there, Dak didn't look the same. Just ask Miami. Ask that pass rush of Miami who the most valuable player on the Cowboys is. But that's fine. We can go with this Dak for MVP thing, and Jerry Jones is going to back up the Brinks truck. But I'll tell you this. The Dallas Cowboys, this is their best opportunity to win the Super Bowl, because if they don't win it this year, they're not going to win it for a while. Dak's going to get paid, Mike has got to get paid, and CeeDee Lamb's got to get paid. Who else are they going to have money for? So listen, go ahead and scream for Dak Prescott being the MVP. You guys are about to find out what happens when you pay a quarterback as an MVP who's not really an MVP. And it kind of already started. Y'all gave Dak Prescott 4 years, $160 million. And what has he done for you guys? Absolutely nothing. Playoff failure after playoff failure. He beats up on tomato cans. Listen, he plays great at home. He beats up on bad teams and gets MVP votes. We had Jerry Jones out here talking about when they beat the Redskins on Thanksgiving. Oh, this is the greatest feeling I've had since the Super Bowl. You got DeMarcus Lawrence in here talking trash about we're the greatest team ever. My nigga, you can't even beat the goddamn soft-ass Dolphins. What? Cool. Give Dak Prescott the MVP, because when you do, even if you don't, the Dallas Cowboys are about to be in a nuclear fucking winter. Please.
Let me say this. Two things real quick. One, Prescott is nowhere near the MVP. You could
No.
honestly, you could throw Tommy DeVito in a Cowboys fucking uniform, and they would still have 10 wins.
Exactly. Exactly.
Second, I'm going to tell you why this is the best show in sports right here, TSR Sports, is because we have the only rational thinking Cowboys fan in the world, in Jay Blaze.
Yep.
What is going through the heads of some of these Cowboy fans to really think that Dak Prescott deserves the MVP?
Look, and Trev Stoker says stomped your Eagles, though. Yeah, he absolutely stomped the Eagles. What is no, he's right. He stomped the Eagles, but where are the Eagles ranked on defense? Number one. Number two, who won that first game? That's number two. Number three, who is sitting at the top of the NFC East right now? Listen, yeah, Dak Prescott stomped the Eagles after we got our asses kicked against the San Francisco 49ers. You see, Trev, Dak Prescott had the very good fortune of playing the Eagles at home, coming off. They were playing their second straight team off of 10 days rest. The Eagles had the short week with the Buffalo Bills, ended up getting, I'm not making excuses, but yeah, Dak had his way with the Eagles, but guess what? The Eagles have a bad defense. Okay, so Dak carved up another bad defense. Fine, great. He stomped the Eagles, pay him $60 million a year. Pay him $60 million a year. He's not going to stomp the Eagles if you give him MVP money. That's all I'm going to tell you. Go ahead.
I will continue to say you need to treat these average quarterbacks and just say, this is our offer. Go explore.
Right.
The Giants should have done this with Daniel Jones.
Oh my God.
Every team should do this unless you're named Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and like the top 5 quarterbacks. Everyone else, just give your offer and say, "Hey, explore."
I'll give
because
you a hot take as a Dolphins fan. That's what the Dolphins need to do with Tua.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Trev Stoker says Dak also outplayed Hurts and the Eagles in Philly. Nobody thinks that Jalen Hurts is the MVP. Trev, try again, buddy. Look, hey, look.
He has too many fumbles.
Dude, look. Yeah, dude, he had way too many fumbles. Look, Dak Prescott is a B+ quarterback. He's a B+ quarterback. Dak Prescott is Kirk Cousins with a better PR campaign. I said it. Dak Prescott is Kirk Cousins with a better PR campaign and firm. But because Dak plays for Dallas and he plays for Jerry Jones and the Star and all this, and the fact that he's black and Trev is probably a black man, give Dak Prescott that MVP money. You guys are about to find out. How dangerous it is to hype up a black quarterback who's not as good as everybody says he is. Dak Prescott, if Dak Prescott does not win a Super Bowl this year, he never will, because they're going to have to pay all these players. It's not going to be money for anybody else. Let's move out of this. I'll give you guys the last word. Go ahead.
I've said what I've said.
Okay. Blaze, what you got? Anything else?
So Dak, I will continue to say he's not a full force multiplier. He is a 1. He will take that team. He does not make anyone better. He will take those parts as far as the parts are. And with CeeDee Lamb, he has a number 1 wideout, and that's literally what he is. Like
Trev Stoker says, Dak has been making wine out of water in the face of incompetence from his franchise. Absolutely. Dak Prescott, you know what? I agree with Trev. Dak Prescott is the greatest quarterback in NFL history. At home, against non-divisional opponents, under 500, before Thanksgiving. Greatest ever. Thank you.
I will say he is limited by his coach.
Greatest ever. Pay him.
He's limited by the coach, but he has one of the best rosters in football right now.
It is what it
you're
is.
seeing it.
Dak Prescott is having a career year. He's not the MVP. It is
You
what it
can't
is.
compare. You can't compare what Dak Prescott is doing with that good a team versus what Mahomes is doing with just Travis Kelce.
Yeah. Actually. No, I agree. So I guess we'll go ahead and cut we're going to cut this short. Now, as much of a Cowboy hater as I am, guys, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that what you are seeing on your screen is not something that is long overdue. You don't have to be a Cowboys fan to know that what is happening on your screen, honestly, man, this is probably, it's long overdue. One of the coolest moments that I've seen in the NFL in quite some time. Guys, I was around when Jimmy Johnson and the Dallas Cowboys were running the league. They came out of nowhere. They were 1-11. Jimmy Johnson gets there. They get the great trade robbery. They get the triplets, Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith. They were absolutely dominant in the 90s. And unfortunately, that Cowboys dynasty was marred by the feud between Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones on the screen. Both, and guys, they're only 1 year apart. Jerry Jones is 81, Jimmy Johnson is 80. These guys were college football teammates. They were lifelong friends. Jimmy goes and wins a couple of national championships at Miami. Jerry Jones buys the team, fires Tom Landry, hires Jimmy Johnson. They make all the drafts, all the success, and then all of a sudden they get power hungry. They're talking shit about each other. It was this 3-decade-long beef. And fortunately for Jerry and Jimmy, Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin were extremely instrumental at getting these guys to come back together and say, hey, look, man, you guys accomplished way too much. You guys are too old. You accomplished this dynasty was too great for you guys to go out like fighting. I thought that this was a cool moment. I love the fact that Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones finally buried the hatchet after all these years, seeing all those Cowboys there. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but like I said, you don't have to be a Cowboys fan to know that this was a very, very cool moment. Jay Blaze, what did you think about this?
I love the moment. Dude, he's only been with the Cowboys 4 years,
Right.
Jimmy. And so you had Jerry Jones buy the Cowboys. He was flat broke afterwards. And so all he cared about was like getting his wealth back and making the moves to make the Cowboys more viable. And so Jimmy took that instance to like bring up the team. And Jerry likes to think, I know so much about football. And he likes to think he's the next Al Davis. Dude, Jimmy, like he drafted all those players, and Jerry hasn't had a competent head coach other than Bill Parcells ever since. Like he hires these like middling average coaches.
Chan Gailey, Dave Wanstead. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
And dude, Mike McCarthy, like you see him at the end of the games, like he has no idea about anything clock management styles. You had Jason Garrett, who was basically a second son to him, and like he would push back. Like you have none of these coaches that will push back on Jerry, and so they just flounder around, and they'll get to the first or second round of the playoffs, and that's about it.
Yep.
And
the Cowboys have not been the same since they left. And yeah, Barry Switzer won Super Bowl 30. Neil O'Donnell decided to throw a couple of cheap picks to who was the Super Bowl? It was like Larry Allen or somebody like that. Miami J, what were your thoughts on seeing Jerry and Jimmy finally bury the hatchet? As you see Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith, what was really cool is that all of the players were excited to see this happen.
Yeah, no, look, I think it's a great moment. I didn't live through it. I was still in Venezuela. My first Super Bowl was the one you just referenced with Barry Switzer, Super Bowl 30.
Yes.
But I know the history, so I know it's a great moment. Jimmy Johnson coached here in Miami, so we heard
Larry Brown.
Yeah, we heard continuously when he was here in Miami about the beef with Jerry Jones, and then the Cowboys came to Miami, and that was a huge deal because it was the first time Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson went up against each other. So yeah, it was a great moment. It didn't bring a tear to my eye because I'm not a Cowboys fan, but it was fantastic.
I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was very, very cool because again, I think I'm a generation. I think I'm a generation ahead of you guys. I think you guys are both millennials. Am I wrong?
I'm millennial.
Okay,
I'm the oldest millennial. We started in '83, so that's
Gotcha. So yeah, guys, I was around, man, when Jerry and Jimmy were going back and forth in the media. Jimmy's putting out commercials. Jerry Jones sued Jimmy Johnson for defamation. I mean, it was like this got really, really ugly. And I thought I would never in my lifetime see what's going on the screen. So shout out to Troy Aikman. Shout out to Troy Aikman who sort of brokered this deal and said, hey guys, what we accomplished here was something special. Let's not have it marred any further by petty bullshit. Let's go ahead and bury the hatchet, put him in the Ring of Honor, and I think this was a good ending. I think
we all saw the Jimmy Johnson where the guy inducted him into the Hall of Fame, and you could see how much the game meant to him and stuff. And dude, it was a great moment.
Sans Jamal, who is trolling me still, he says winning Super Bowls is very hard. Just ask the Eagles. Let me ask you a question, Jamal. How many since Super Bowl 30? How many Super Bowls have the Cowboys been to? But yeah, exactly not. How many Super Bowls have the Eagles been 2. Oh yeah, that's 3. And we won. How many of those did we win? We won this many. Ah!
Hey, I can't say a word here. I'm a Dolphins fan. We haven't been to the Super Bowl since '73.
Hey man, but you guys went undefeated in 72. So hashtag
We do have that.
I love Mercury Morris. Mercury Morris will never shut up about the champagne.
And I will say, to me, the greatest Super Bowl of all time was the Giants beating the undefeated Patriots. That
Oh, dude,
Oh yeah,
that was
I loved it.
any Dolphins fan will tell you that.
that was dude, I can't even tell you what the greatest Super Bowl in my lifetime was. That was up there. I think Super Bowl 25 was also very good. That was one of the first Super Bowls. We'll have to do like a Super Bowl countdown, but yeah, you're right. Super Bowl 42 was definitely up there. Nobody thought the Giants would win. Pardon me. All right, guys, that is going to do it as they continue to troll me. That is going to do it for this edition of. God, we're going to have to start these earlier, especially with stories like this. We will see you guys on Wednesday. I will be back. Streaming tomorrow, TSR Live, every single weekday at 3:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, starting New Year's Day. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Enjoy the games, guys, and Happy New Year.